Well, again, first, my name is Dennis Smeltzer. I'm the president of TSANet. With me is Stephanie Benson. She has been with us for quite some time, and she is out of the UK. And also Paul Esch is with us, and Paul is the director of our business strategy and business development. So they're both on with us to make sure that that my screens are okay and that I'm not doing anything wrong here. So what we're going to do is we have got just a whole bunch of different people that are on this call from companies that have been with us since 1993 to non-members, and as well as a lot of limited members. We'll talk about the membership categories and everything, but the purpose of this is to really keep this at a high level. So I've just got a couple of slides. I'm going to give you a very tactical view of this, and in fact, let me go to the next slide because this will talk about what we want to do, right? I want to give you an high-level organizational overview of what this is. We want to talk about the membership levels and relationships, and I do want to talk a little bit about custom groups, although we're not going to get into the weeds on it. And then I want to kind of focus in on the tactical piece of this, because I find a lot of people that join these, whether they've been members forever, they may not know anything about TSANet. And so I want to get to the real tactical piece of this. How do you contact and work with another member, and what is their what's the obligation there, and what relationship would I want to use? What do I need to do? How does this all work? And we'll get into that. What we're not going to get into is a lot of the details on some of the other things that we've got coming up. We've got another release of the member web coming up. This whole case exchange thing, which is really Paul's focus and effort. We've got upcoming webinars, and I invite you to go to the TSANet homepage, the www.tsanet.org. We will be having webinars on that. It's been really a lot of interest from a lot of members on the case exchange tool, the ability for you to work with other members without getting out of your CRM system. We talk a lot about the custom groups and knowledge and training exchange and all that. We're going to touch on a little bit of that, but we'll get into the weeds on some future webinars that we'll be doing. So I just wanted to give a little plug for that. So the organization itself is a not-for-profit. We're what's called a 501c6, and we were created with the whole purpose of doing a multi-vendor support collaboration effort for the industry. So we, in fact, really are an industry organization. We've been in business over 20 years now. We celebrated 20 years in 1993. And what's different about us from looking at like a typical vendor relationship would be that we are an association that's made up of the industry. So I work for the board of directors, who is elected by the members. Paul and I both report directly to the board, and the board is elected by the membership. And in fact, we've just increased the board to now 11 members, and they serve 3-year terms, and the companies are elected that way. We have always operated on a small global staff to keep those costs down, and in fact, we've done that quite a bit. And we've expanded the membership, and we'll get into the membership categories here in a second. But there's actually several hundred members, and we've actually now made that public on the website. So if you go to the TSANet.org website and click on members, you'll actually be able to see all of the companies that are part of TSANet. Not all of them are part of the open groups, which we'll talk about here in a minute. A lot of them are part of hosted groups. And that's where this last bullet points we get into it is that it is now a core relationship infrastructure for a lot of companies. And the purpose behind that is that we've already got this framework set up. It's been around for 20 plus years, and we've got the legal framework set up, and where relationships typically get tied up a lot is in the legal piece of it and then the implementation piece of it. And what we've done is we've got all of these companies' legal teams to agree to a common set of verbiage. What is confidentiality, and how are you going to handle intellectual property if you're working with one another? So we've got all these companies to agree to that, and it goes into what we call a code of conduct that every company agrees to the same terms. So then it becomes very easy to create additional relationships beyond what you might have joined up to TSANet for. So that's one of the big benefits of being a member of TSANet, is the ability to use this operational framework as well as the legal framework. Okay. talk a little bit about the member levels, and I know a lot of people on the call here today are from what we call our global premium members. So it's a lot of the bigger companies that have been with us for years and years. When we got started with TSANet, the big value prop in doing that was that you could join into a relationship, a single relationship, and then all of a sudden have a relationship with a bunch of companies. And we called that open groups, and that still applies today. Although we've expanded it a little bit to be not only at a basic level, but also a premium level, which I'll talk here in a second. But the concept of this is you join into a single group, and then you have the ability to engage and collaborate with everybody that's in that group, and they can engage and collaborate with you. And we call that a many-to-many group relationship. But you can't just create these big groups and then have everybody agree unless you have a common framework there. And the common element between both the basic and the premium TSANet is that there is a mutual customer involved. And how that mutual customer is defined is actually dependent upon which relationship we're talking about. And this will make a lot more sense when I actually show you the member web and how you place calls. But for now, be aware that there is a basic TSANet and there's a premium TSANet. They're both open groups. They both require that a mutual customer be involved. That typically that means a mutual customer that is entitled to support. In the basic TSANet, we let each member say, this is how I define a mutual customer. In the premium TSANet, what we do is we say that customer must have a 24/7 entitlement. And the reason we do that is because the premium TSANet obligates companies that are in that group to work on a global scale, to work on a 24/7 scale, and there are higher level SLAs in there. So it's a 2-hour response time in a SEV 1, 4 hours in a SEV 2, next business day in a SEV 3 for the premium TSANet. For the basic TSANet, the only SLA that we put in there is if it's a SEV 1, you must respond by the next business day. Now, that being said, understand that because there is that mutual customer, even in the basic TSANet, it's one of your customers. So whether you're placing a call to another member or you're receiving a call from a member, it's always involving your customer. So you got to keep that in mind when you get into to looking at the open groups. And a lot of companies, what they do is they will start with an open group, and then they'll expand into the custom groups, which we'll talk about next. But just want to make sure that you have an understanding between the basic and the premium TSANet. And a big takeaway for a lot of you guys in the bigger companies that are members at a premium level doesn't necessarily mean that you would contact another member under the premium TSANet. It's going to depend on that level of entitlement that customer has with the member. Okay, but there is no restriction to the number of outbound callers. We actually split this up into global regions, and if you want more information on that, I can get into that. But I wanted you to get an idea about these open groups and the difference between the basic and the premium TSANet. Okay, now what we did as an organization was that's how we started, and everybody liked that, and it was a good way to get things moving. But then they said, well, you've got this, but I need something different outside of the open groups. I've got a few strategic partners, for example, that I need to have a much tighter relationship with. Or I've got a whole group of partners out there that I have no way of engaging them, and they have no way of engaging me unless I set up some kind of relationship. So what we did was we expanded TSANet to cover these areas for our members. And we've basically have split this up into two sections, one called the peer custom groups and one called the partner custom groups. And this gets into a little bit of the membership categories, but I think one of the key things for everyone to understand in these custom groups is depends on how it's set up, but it can be a whole different set of terms. There may not have to be a mutual customer involved. It depends on how the custom group is set up. Typically, there is a mutual customer involved, but again, the point is, as far as SLAs, what is the mutual customer requirement, all that kind of stuff, it is defined by either the group or it's defined by the host of the custom group. So what we've done is we've set this up to where you can have a one-to-one relationship outside of the open groups. You may want to have a strategic many-to-many group relationship, and I'll actually give you an example of one of those where everybody can talk to everybody else, but it's only a certain amount of companies that can do it. And these are typically highly strategic support relationships where you'll only have a few companies that are supporting a common platform, that kind of thing. And then you've also got the partner groups over here on the right, which that could be, and what it is used for is maybe I've got a whole bunch of partners out there that I need to make sure that I got some kind of collaboration mechanism set up with them. So what I can do is I can become the host and they become a limited member. What they do is they join into a one-to-one relationship. From the host, it's a one-to-many. From the partner's perspective, it's a one-to-one relationship. And this is where we get into this limited member, and I've got several hundred companies that are like that. And that's where we talk about TSANet being a core relationship infrastructure. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go into the database. So I'm going to go out of the slides here for a second. And what I've done is I've logged in here as EMC. And I use EMC, well, I try to kind of split it up a little bit between who I kind of pick on from time to time. But a lot of these companies use TSANet in multiple different ways, and EMC is not an exception to that. So EMC is part of the basic TSANet, the open group. They're part of the premium TSANet. They're part of some strategic groups. They're also a host of a partner program through TSANet. And I wanted to give you an example. So what I've done is I've logged in here as an individual. Now, just so everybody is clear on this, right, there's group logins, a capability for you to get into this system to be able to engage and work with other companies through encrypted URLs and group logins or individual logins, a lot of different ways we work with our members to do that. But the bottom line is, let's say that I've come in here and I need to engage a company. In this case, I'm going to pick on AttachMate. So I'm going to come down here and click on AttachMate, and what it's going to do is I, as EMC now, am going to see all the different relationships and all the different departments that AttachMate has set up for TSANet. And it could be around product groups, it could be around geos, lots of different ways, but the idea here is to guide the engineer through on what relationships I have, and if there's a different set of products, where would I want to go? This, for example, NetIQ products. I'm going to go up here to the basic TSANet in this AttachMate main site in the Americas, and it's going to pull up a process document. And this contact document is just guiding the engineer on, okay, this is the relationship that we have with you, and now this is how I want you to engage me. So it's telling you, yeah, we're operating, even though it's basic TSANet, we're doing it on a 24/7 basis. Here's all the products that we're covering in this site. Here is the information I need to have about our common customer before you call me. And then down here is telling you, hey, this is how I want you to engage me. And in this case, there's both a primary way, which is actually picking up the phone and calling, or in this, you could also send an email. And you notice this ID number up here. What that is an ID number that is given specifically, in this case, to EMC. So the database knows that I'm EMC. It's pulling up this number so that I can engage AttachMate through that number. And then down at the bottom, I'm going to have an escalation path. And then also an area where I can submit feedback. And that really is how you would engage another company. It's all done through this contact document. And if I go back here, I'm going to go back to my TSANet space. If I was contacting one member more than I would another, I could just simply take and put a shortcut up here into my TSANet space, and that way I don't have to go through the directory and see all the different options through the decision tree. I can just go ahead and pick a company that I want to engage. Before I go back to the slides, I'm going to show you a little bit about this custom group thing. And you notice this tile is green. So the basic is the gold, and then the premium is this other color here. I'm going to click on a custom group, is MVEC. Now this is a group that is one of these many-to-many strategic groups. And what it is set up for is an example with a core group of companies that have agreed that if there's a Sev1 ticket opened up on both sides, that they will move into a very high escalation path. This one is called the Multi-Vendor Escalation Center. And so if I needed to engage a company, and you notice that it didn't take me to a decision tree, this actually takes me to a microsite. And this is something we're developing with our members now, where in this case I don't have anything up there, but I could put knowledge articles up there. I could put training exchange information up there, and only those companies that are part of this relationship would be able to see that and contribute to that. But then if I get down to the tactical piece of it, well, I need to engage another company, then I can just click on this collaborate tab here, and it's going to pull up all the companies that are part of this. And behind this would probably, well, in this case it is, a different set of instructions that guides that member through the custom group process of contacting another member. And typically, I'll pull this one up here, I think. It's going to be, they've created a particular alias that will guide that engineer into a different area because it is all around this custom group. So you can see the point of this is that you can be part of the big open group, be able to engage and collaborate with everybody. But then if you want to create a custom group, you have the ability to do that and set up a different process and guide those engineers through a different process. And again, you've got the ability to go in and update these, and there's all sorts of things that we can do in the administration area that I'm not going to get in and cover. But that's kind of what I wanted to show you about the tactical piece of it, right? Again, I would go back and emphasize that for those of you that are open group members, right, that there's a decision point if you're part of the premium TSANet. Do you want to contact that member under the premium TSANet, under the basic TSANet, because they will provide a different set of instructions. And the answer to that is going to be, well, is that customer entitled to that level of support? And that's information you're going to have to get about the customer before you engage the other company. Okay? So that's what I wanted to do with this. We're getting up on 20 after. I want to go back. I just got to finish up with a couple of slides here. And what I think are some of the key takeaways out of this, which is, one, we're an organization of members, right? I mean, you're the one that has driven the organization to do what we do today. And you're doing it today and driving us into, are we doing this case exchange and creating these microsites and custom groups and all that stuff. That's all stuff that you created. It's not something that TSANet created. We're a very member-driven organization. Understand that thing about entitlement between the basic and premium TSANet. If you're part of those open groups, if you're part of the custom groups, it can be a totally different set of elements. You can host one of these relationships if you're an open group member, and there's absolutely no cost to doing that. So again, I invite you to come into one of the custom group webinars that we're going to have. The whole point of this is to raise customer satisfaction. There's nothing, I hear this time and time again about customers that have been finger pointed around, and it can be very frustrating. So the whole point is to raise customer satisfaction, minimize that finger pointing, escalate the calls if you need to. There's an escalation path down at the bottom, and if you've got problems, if you're using that, then let us know. Our job is to make sure that all of our members are being compliant with the relationship that they've come into. So if you got problems or somebody didn't update their contact document, let me know so I can go back and tell them that. There's a bunch of new stuff that we've got going on and we try to keep you up to date on the public side of the website. Keep in touch that way, and then here's some resources for you. Our features are there. We're really trying to do a lot with the member web to keep everybody up to date and informed of what's going on. We're improving our member help section. We've got a great LinkedIn group if you want to be part of that, and well as you can follow us on Twitter, and there's my email information down there below. And that's all I have for the webinar. Let me try to go, if you've got questions, let me see if I can pull this up, if anybody has any questions. And Stephanie and Paul, I don't know if I'm going to be able to see all that. It seems to be a little difficult to see on my screen. Okay, I don't see that anybody has any questions. If anybody does have questions, I apologize. I cannot get this window to expand out for me, so I can't really see it. But if you do have questions, if you do have anything and you want to get in touch with me, the contact information is right there. Thanks so very much for joining us today. We appreciate a large number of people on here, so I hope you got something out of it. And we appreciate your time. We'll give you a few minutes back of your half hour. Thanks, everybody.